Good morning, everyone. Our panel, first of all, our microphones have a button if you look in front of you. And everybody out there, you must press down the button to speak. And when you release it, it won't pick you up. So welcome, everybody. Make sure we can handle that correctly. And
Is this a system thing, or did S&T forget that some of us are lawyers and not engineers?
I've heard it's a Steelman thing, is all I was told. And because of not wanting to hold a button, I'm going to move up here for the chairman report. I'm not sure I can keep my finger on long enough, but we'll try it. So welcome, everybody, and good morning, and we thank Missouri S&T for allowing us to come to your campus. We enjoy our annual visit here, and we look forward to it. Sometimes when you prepare a report, you start thinking of things, and as curators, we talk about all the resources that the university has, whether we talk about buildings and we talk about finances and we talk about things. And it occurred to me, I thought one of the greatest resources we have at every university are the people that we have, that run the places, that work at the places, the students that attend, the parents that pay the bills, et cetera, et cetera. And it was also, I thought of the resource of the Board of Curators. And instead of me writing something down, I looked up something from 1989, curator Webb Gilmore. Now, Webb Gilmore is my wife Tamara's uncle. Webb is an attorney in Kansas City with Gilmore and Bell. He's now retired. He was a curator back in the 80s, early 90s. He was chairman of the board. And he wrote this piece, and I thought it fit for us. We spend much time discussing resources of the university. It is important that we recognize that the board is one of those resources. As a board, we must consider many issues, but we have limited time, talents, and energy, and therefore we must be wise and selective in allocating these resources to make us most effective as a board. We must be mindful not only of what we should do, but what we should not do. There are certainly a lot of things we can do that will not make much difference. We must avoid wasteful discussions on less significant matters that results in neglect of more significant matters. We should always be asking the question, will this really make a difference? Judgment is knowing the difference. And I think of that and I go back to, and our great historian, Steve Owens, October 10th of 1839. So it was 150 years prior to Webb Gilmore writing that about the resources. The first board meeting was held in Columbia, October 10th. It was a Thursday in 1839. I was at University Hall last Monday for a meeting, went in to see Cindy and Phyllis, went into the room that has all the records, and I marveled at all the meetings are documented. And Phyllis grabbed the original book, and everything was in handwriting. And because I have the history book, I said October 10th. She said, yeah, but take a look. That was a Thursday. On Monday of that week, October 7th, Thomas Allen, M.M. Marmaduke, Gabriel Tutt, John Henderson, and William Scott showed up in Columbia for a meeting. They'd been appointed by the General Assembly. They took the oath and were sworn in, but there wasn't a quorum. So they showed up on Monday. They showed up on Tuesday. They showed up on Wednesday, all documented. We don't have a quorum. And then George Hart arrived on Thursday. Now, I don't know where George Hart came from. I haven't dug that out yet. I don't know if he was reshoeing a horse or if his buggy broke down. But I marveled at the fact that the people showed up every day. And by Thursday, they had a quorum. George Hart was sworn in. And the Board of Curators officially, when you look at the history book, that was Thursday, October 10th. And I think of that and I think, okay, if I talk about strengths of our university, you've got to go back to think, where have you been? And we'll talk about S&T because we're here. And you think of the board in 1862, the Morrill Act, all of a sudden we needed more agriculture, we needed more engineering, we needed more miners. There was a discussion about where should they put a school for mining and engineering. And there were bids and there were discussions throughout the state, throughout the curators, their meetings. And Phelps County was chosen because of the mines around here. So in 1870, all of a sudden you have a school. Late December. First class was in 1871. The Rolla building still exists. They do math there, correct? 1875, that was purchased and it's still here. So when we start thinking about resources, it's about people, and we start thinking about the strengths of who and what our university, who we are and what we do, it's important to think back on where we were and to this board where we're going. Because everything's changing, sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, but everything changes. So when to think of the strengths of S&T today, it's had many name changes, but when you think of the first one, there's only 2 designated highly selective by the Missouri Department of Higher Education. State's leading public university, primary focus on STEM. It's amazing, they're nationally recognized. Explosive engineering, mining engineering, nuclear engineering, ceramics engineering. But I'd be remiss, since I've been around a few years, to also think about the growth in arts, humanities, social sciences, and business. All of those things have changed over the years. As I mentioned last meeting in February, my brother Scott's a graduate of, at that time, UMR, mechanical engineering, got his master's in mechanical engineering here. Back then, when I would visit, wasn't so much about arts, humanities, social sciences, or business, mostly engineering. So we've had a lot of growth. Ranked number 6 in the nation for annual return on investment. That's powerful. Powerful. Again, think back of 1875, 1871, 1870. 6th on annual return on investment. And the university's hands-on student focus through student design teams has provided experimental learning opportunities for years with the plan to have fully implemented for 100% of undergraduate students by next year. Powerful stuff. We're lucky on our board, we have student representative, Avery Welker, who is a graduate working on his doctorate, who is and will be a great alumni of this university and a great representative from our state, wherever he shows up, wherever he ends up, he's a Missouri product and an S&T product. But that's what they've built here. When I think of people, curators have a Distinguished Teaching Professors Awards. And if I could have Dr. Erickson and Dr. Van Aken please come up. Dr. Stephen Gao is teaching it currently, and Dr. Yinfa Mao left S&T last June and is now at California State University. Professor Erickson. I'm going to read a little bit about what this man has done. Joined S&T in 1986, was granted tenure in 92, was promoted full professor in 2000. He has been exemplary in the service to education by writing widely adopted textbooks and developing curriculum and programs that have generated a significant number of jobs for students. In the community, he volunteers significant time to teaching elementary school students, coaching the math team, and teaching courses for the Boy Scouts Merit Badge University. Dr. Erickson has received a very large number of prestigious teaching awards, notably the IEEE Region 5 Outstanding Educator Award, which is given to one educator across most of the Midwest. He has helped other faculty develop their teaching abilities through this program and committee work, as well as serving as department chair for electrical and computer engineering for 11 years. Today we recognize Dr. Erickson as Curator's Distinguished Teaching Professor. Congratulations. Dr. David Van Aken was honored on March 13th with an Educator Award. Professor Van Aken joined the Missouri S&T faculty as an associate professor in 1993, promoted to full professor in 2001. As an expert, help me with this word, metallurgical engineering. That's why they're engineers. He has authored more than 170 technical articles, received 3 patents, and is co-author of the book Reporting Results, a practical guide for engineers and scientists. Professor Van Aken is widely known for his work developing new manganese steels for lightweight military armor and automotive steel, and is a licensed engineer in Missouri and Illinois. He has received many honors, including 14 campus awards for teaching excellence, 11 department faculty excellence awards, and 4 S&T faculty excellence awards. And in 2017 was named ASM International Fellow. Today we recognize Dr. Van Aken for his service to Missouri S&T as Curator's Distinguished Teaching Professor Emeritus. Congratulations. We'll go back to what we started in February. And our focus, again, when you think of organizations, when you think of teams, it's made up of individuals who better themselves to better what the team can be. And our university is no different. And my focus today was on the fact that our resources is all about people. We can talk about buildings. Steve Owens told me the first meeting, when you read that in 1939, they talked about finding a building, financing it, same thing, finding a president. Same things we talk about today. Where are we going to build? How are we going to finance it? What people are we going to use? But when we give out awards to outstanding teachers, because all 4 of our campuses have them, we then focus on the strength. And it gives us a better chance to understand and appreciate not only each university within the system, but the system as a whole. The challenges we have going forward, and we've started this in the past, and we're getting better ongoing, is how do we connect and how do we collaborate between the 4 great universities? We all have our distinct, unique characteristics that we've built over the years, and it's been terrific. And the board is always talking about how do we collaborate. And President Choi has been a #1 focal thing. Today we'll go through and we'll talk more about the strength. I look forward to Chancellor Maple's visit this afternoon, and we'll have another open discussion. That ends the board report. Now I will turn it over to President Choi.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Sunvold. I'm going to wait until, that's great. No, I'll hold it. Thank you. Thank you very much. So in terms of the President report, let me start off with some bittersweet news. As you know, Tom George has decided to retire after serving 16 years as Chancellor of UMSL, and he's going to move on into retirement. So Tom, if you can stand and be recognized. Tom, thank you for your service. Gary Allen has also served with great distinction at the university, and he's been at the University of Missouri-Columbia and the UM system for over 30 years. And he leaves behind a legacy of very innovative approaches to meeting our IT needs. So we wish him very well. I don't see him in the audience, but when you do see him, please send your best regards as well. Thank you. Now, with leadership transition, we also have opportunities to welcome new leaders to the university. James Abbey will begin as the TPMC project manager, and he will begin next week. We also have a new director of the 4-H Center, Dr. Lupita Fabregas. And Kim Humphrey has been appointed as the permanent vice provost for enrollment management at Mizzou. And at UMKC, Brandon Martin started a few months ago as the athletics director and is already making some important contributions. And here at SNT, they hired a permanent Vice Provost for Enrollment Management, and Paul Orschlin is here as well. So I know, Paul, you're here in the audience. Paul, can you stand? Paul, welcome. We look forward to great things from you. And also, Kristen Smar is going to be serving as the Deputy Chief Marketing and Communications Officer, reporting to Cameron Farwell and serving both the UM system and Mizzou. And Kristen, you are here. Thank you. In continuing with the announcement of teaching excellence for university faculty members, I want to introduce Dr. Mark Fitch. Mark, can you stand? Dr. Fitch is a faculty member in the Civil and Architectural and Environmental Engineering program here, and he's been selected for the President's Award for Service. He was nominated by Professor Joe Birkin, and Dr. Fitch is a national leader in the area of environmental remediation, and he's also a very dedicated teacher, known for just a very committed approach to ensuring that our students get the best education possible. On top of all of that, I've had the great pleasure of working with Dr. Fitch on many faculty governance matters, and he has gone above and beyond to serve the university, the faculty, staff, and students. So, Dr. Fitch, congratulations, and we look forward to your continuing contributions to the university. So let me begin with some updates on how we are doing as a system when it comes to philanthropy. Philanthropy can be thought of as a proxy for the confidence that donors have in the university. And as you can see, throughout the University of Missouri system, the year-over-year contributions from donors, both individuals and corporate donors, have increased significantly. At Mizzou, it's up by 18.7%, UMKC is up by 23%, SNT 8%, and UMSL by almost 16%. These are all very positive developments, and we still have 3 more months to go before the end of the fiscal year. In terms of our performance in research, the leading indicator is research proposals. Mizzou has made some important increases, as you can see from the graph. The other 3 universities have some work to do, and we've had conversations with the leadership to encourage and promote research, especially research that is collaborative, multi-investigator, multi-institution types of proposal. We still have 3 more months left until the end of the fiscal year, so we would like to see progress that is made in this regard. Research awards, Mizzou and SNT are up, UMKC and UMSL are down. So once again, the leading indicators are proposals. We have to submit the proposals that can be considered for award, and then what comes next is research expenditures. Research expenditures at the 3 campuses are up. SNT's down slightly. And we're working very closely with the vice chancellors for research in developing the types of summits that was held yesterday to encourage more collaboration across the 4 universities. And if the last 2 presentations that I saw were any indication, they drew a lot of interest from faculty members from very diverse disciplines that can see the connections that can be made in terms of research in both very sophisticated imaging to aging in place. So we want to encourage those types of collaboration as we move forward to increase research proposals, awards, and expenditures. Some highlights of major research awards during the past few months. Both UMKC and UMSL received major awards to address a problem that is of national scope, and that is the opioid addiction. As many of you know, the collaborations that exist among UMSL UMKC, and Mizzou through the Addiction Center are very central to addressing the problems of education and monitoring and supporting those individuals in Missouri who suffer from opioid addiction, not only for prescription opioids, but also the synthetic opioids that are available throughout the state of Missouri. Here at Missouri S&T, faculty members throughout the university from both colleges have contributed to a major award of $5.1 million to work with the Army Research Lab and Fort Leonard Wood to further our expertise and understanding in traumatic brain injury. There's also, I'm happy to report, some very strong collaboration with Mizzou Health faculty member, MU Health faculty members through the VA and the School of Medicine in analyzing the neurological impact of traumatic brain injury and the blasts that can occur. So we have engineering faculty members on this campus who are explosives experts working with Fort Leonard Wood's researchers and then combining that expertise from Mizzou in the neurosciences. I also want to mention that Mizzou received two very important awards from the Department of Defense, and these are MultiUniversity Research Awards, and I want you to focus on the partner universities. In the first project for Tommy Sewell, the partners include University of Illinois Urbana, Columbia University, and Purdue University. In the second project, the partners, the subcontractors to these projects include Stanford and Harvard University. There were only 24 MURI projects that were awarded during this last round. Mizzou received 2. The only other university that received 2 awards was MIT. So to be able to bring together faculty members, not only from the UM system, but leading faculty members from top universities is the trend that we want to follow. And I want to congratulate the leadership at Mizzou for pulling the team together and supporting it to reach these milestones. Very impressive. In terms of student success, the application numbers are shown here. They are as of April 8th, 2019. With the exception of UMKC, the applications at all of our campuses have increased from this point in time last year. In terms of the accepted students, these are students who've indicated they will attend the university. Mizzou is up 21%. Last year, they had 4,700 freshmen enrolled in the fall of 2018. They've already exceeded that, and they still have 3 more weeks to go to accept deposits. So I want to congratulate the leadership, Kim Humphrey, and the staff members who really made a big push to increase these numbers. UMSL is down slightly. They have some work to do. We don't have the data that we can use to compare for this time last year for UMKC and S&T. But the indications are that there's some work to do, and there's been some concern shared with the leadership to ensure that we develop a very aggressive approach to turn those applications and admits into yields going forward. 2 weeks ago at the state capitol, we had Undergraduate Research Day, which was coordinated by Mark McIntosh as well as Ashley Berg from our office, and brought together undergraduate student researchers from all 4 campuses to share their innovative research with state legislators. And each of the students had a proclamation that was signed by the legislators, and it was presented to them at that event. These are students who are going to go on to the top graduate schools and hopefully become faculty members at universities in our system. And I was very proud of their contributions and their approach for using this experiential learning to advance their training as scientists and engineers. Last week, we held the system-wide competition for Entrepreneurship Quest. This was a project that was started by Bill Turpin, Dan Lauer, Bonnie Bachman, Jeff Hornsby, and Greg Beer. And the 3 winners included 2 projects from Mizzou and 1 project from UMKC. The top prize went to Libby Martin, who developed the calving technologies, which is basically Fitbit for cows. And it's very appropriate for this state, obviously. And the Missouri Cattlemen Association, I understand, is very, very excited about this project. Now, I want to now yield part of my time to invite a very special guest, Tisha Wexton. If I can ask Tisha to come up, and if we can transition to her computer, that'd be great. She is also joined by Professor Chris Miller from UMSL. Tisha won the first prize at the UMSL EQ competition, and Tisha is what I would call I don't use this word. To me, she's an inspirational rock star. And I want her to share with us her idea for her business and share with us a little bit about her. So, Tisha, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So last week, I had the opportunity to pitch my slide deck for the competition to win $15,000 in front of all the MU other businesses. And so I wanted to share with you my slide deck and Entrepreneur Quest that I have today. Welcome to HireMe, the online platform that is changing the world one hire at a time. But before we get started, I wanted to ask the audience, how many people, okay, there we go. How many people in the audience are wearing black today? Can you raise your hand if you're wearing black? Great. Now what if I were to tell you that I've decided that you are incapable of driving? Yeah, right? One person making the split decision that you are unqualified to do a task that you know that you can do. You might have been driving for years, you might even own a car, but none of that matters based on how you look. How would that make you feel? Boo, right? Yeah? Well, welcome to my world. A scenario like this happens to me every day, where somebody makes the assumptions about my capabilities based on my disability. And I'd like to change that. My name is Letitia Wexton, and I am the founder and CEO of HireMe, the online platform helping people with disabilities gain the confidence they need in order to address the limitations in the workplace. You see, I was born without arms, and I learned how to do everything with my feet. My parents taught me 2 lessons in life. One, that I need my independence, because they are not always going to be there to help me. And second, I need my education to support myself, because let's face it, I'm not going to be able to dig ditches. So with these 2 lessons in life, I became a photographer, a videographer, a graphic designer, an illustrator, and an artist. And yet, for some reason, this wasn't enough. I was not able to get a job. Employers had a hard time understanding what my disability was, and they weren't educated enough to understand that I am capable and I am more than my disability. So I decided that I was going to show them. I started a YouTube channel and became a celebrity. Woo! Audio, please. Hi, everyone. This is Tisha Unarmed, and I'm here to answer all your questions about not having arms. And as you can see, I don't have any arms, is what the audio would have said. So, I have 142,000 subscribers right now, and in the month of June alone, I was able to acquire $6,000 in ad revenues. That was amazing. Within the first 2 months of uploading my first video, I had 6 job offers. People were starting to believe how capable I am. So, I was invited to go on Tosh.0. I was on the Jeff Probst show. I flew across the world for the Paralympics commercial. People were amazed and inspired by my story and how capable I really am. These are my friends. Yes, I'm driving a boat, my husband is flying off the edge. We're a quirky bunch, and we all have disabilities. We're all very outgoing, and we all have one thing in mind, is that we want to show people how capable we are, but all of my friends had the issue of finding a job with their degrees, associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, and master's degrees. Employers still didn't understand their disabilities. So, I did some research and I found out that there's a problem. 56.7 million people in the US have a disability, and of that, 59% of them are unemployed. What if I were to tell you that 59% of people wearing black are not allowed to drive? There'd be less traffic in St. Louis, that's for sure. I did the math for you, don't worry. There's 23.4 million people in the US with a disability who want to work. These people who have a lot to offer are not being given the chance to showcase their capabilities because of their disability. It's infuriating. So, this slide, there's a lot of information on it, and I'll break it down for you. There are 30 million small businesses in the US, and right now there are 7.3 million job openings. But there are only 6.4 million able-bodied people that are job-seeking currently. That leaves a 1 million job opening gap that cannot be filled, not even in the most best circumstances. There's 1 million jobs that can't be filled, and I would like to fill them with the 24.3 million qualified, reliable, and retainable people with disabilities who want to work, who are, by the way, qualified. They have the degrees, they have the education, and they have the knowledge and skill set to fulfill these jobs, but they're not being given a chance. The value proposition is amazing. It saves businesses money by hiring someone with a disability. There are tax breaks specifically for this, and it saves them time. Stop researching and hiring people who are just going to leave in 6 months and having to rehire a new person and spend time training them to do the job that a person with a disability would have been able to do. By the way, people with disabilities have a higher retention rate. They stay longer. This makes a more inclusive workplace. My competitors are LinkedIn, Indeed, and Facebook, and Monster. These are the platforms that people are using today to get jobs, but they don't meet the needs of my target audience. As you can see, my plan is to use HireMe, which is an online platform specifically for people with disabilities, to help them gain the confidence they need, showing employers that they are capable, and, well, educate the world while doing it. Does anybody recognize these two wonderful people? No? All right. Christina Ha is the winner of Master Chef Season 3. She is blind. She was able to win the entire competition based off of her palette alone. And the competition didn't actually believe in her until she was able to show them. The young man at the bottom, Stephen Hawking, one of the most influential minds in our century, really. Our mission with HireMe is to inspire people with disabilities and give them the confidence in order to address their capabilities. Motivate employers to hire someone with a disability by showing them how capable we are and educating people all across the world that we are more than what you see. So, my proposed solution is an app and a website where my customers will be able to upload their video content, showing videos on how capable they are, networking with companies, explaining what their disability is, and providing resources on the accommodations that they would need in the workplace. For me, as a graphic designer, I just need a higher chair. But my app will be able to show you a link to that chair so that you can the employer can buy that chair without having to search around. It's all in one place. And also connecting with other people with disabilities. If I were able to find other people without arms, I think my life would be a whole lot more better. My marketing approach is to leverage my existing YouTube fame with a campaign video. Just by uploading one video today, showing employers or people around the world what HireMe is about, I will be able to reach millions of people in a split second. I plan on leveraging my graphic design degree with printed and digital ads, targeting ads and informational booklets, pamphlets, and social media posts, as well as going to job fairs. Essentially, I'm going to have to convince a whole lot of people to hire me and other people like me. And it'll be easy to do because I'll be able to show a video from my YouTube channel or from HireMe saying, look, I can change a tire in 3 hours. Yeah, but I can do it. I can also leverage my media interviews through Tosh.0 and the Jeff Probst show, just by calling them up, the newspapers, St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and saying, hey, I've got this new product, you should do an interview on me. They'd be like, hell yeah, let's do it. So LinkedIn, Indeed, Monster, Facebook, they're all making millions and billions, and there's no reason why I can't too. This is my analytics. Don't take pictures, don't show anyone, all right? Within the entire scope of my YouTube channel, I've made $22,000 just off of ad revenues. And again, in June, $6,000 just by showing a video of how I drive, how I pump my gas. So I'm predicting that in 1 year, I will be able to make $33,000 through several different types of annual revenues. Posts, recruitment services, ads, and subscription services, which are all the same exact way that LinkedIn makes their money. I'm just doing it on my app with HireMe. Within 3 to 4 years, I will have 1 million users on my platform. And this is loosely based off of LinkedIn's projections, but also with the growth of my YouTube channel and being able to connect with so many people so quickly. As we have established, I won $15,000 in the UMSL first place EQ Accelerator program. And with my use of funds, I plan on using it $2,000 with legals, product development. I am not a computer programmer, which is okay because I can hire someone or find someone who is willing to donate their time to actually do it. Marketing materials will be cheaper because a graphic designer knows how to sell a good product. And I have using $5,000 on a talented team and also recruitment services. My business objectives for the next 5 years is to become the #1 employment platform for disabilities, reach that 1 million users, and entertain the idea of a possible buyout from Microsoft or Google. Once they get a hold of this, they're going to want a piece of it too. So, my EQ Milestones. I started this program as a graphic design student, and I'm leaving as an entrepreneur. Never had taken an entrepreneur class before. I was able to win first place, and I think that that is super amazing. And with my mentor, Chris Miller, we are pushing this venture forward. Whether you like it or not, this is going to happen, so get on board. My talented team of advisors, Chris Miller, Michael, Amy, and Jason Bachman, have all dedicated their time and energy to help me make this happen. They have helped me in so many ways with the business plan, with introducing me to influential partners and investors. So today is an opportunity for you. Add your name to the list. Let's make this happen together. So, if the color of your clothes makes you upset, that's okay. You can go home, you can change your clothes, and never wear black again. Unfortunately, I can't go home and put on a pair of arms. Or can I? Slow motion prosthetic arm picture. Okay, so HireMe is changing the world one hire at a time. And I am pleased to be able to present this to you, to have the opportunity through the EQ Accelerator program to to be able to make this happen, and with all of the help that I've had through the MU system, it's gonna be a reality. Thank you.
Tisha, thank you. One question, do you have any investors lined up?
I have a couple of investors that are interested in helping me develop programming. There have been some interests in investing, but I'm entertaining the ideas of further investors and funding.
Well, we wish you the very best. Thank you, and keep up the great work and continue to inspire others. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very inspiring. Thank you, President Choi, for your words. Next up is the student rep, Avery Welker. And as Avery makes his way to the podium, I want to recognize Marshall Stewart, who's here. He looks up with big eyes. The University of Missouri Extension has done a fabulous job with assisting flood victims. So thank you for all the work you do and throughout the state. Thank you.
Hi. Pleased to be here with the home field advantage of being here at S&T. I love it. Actually, a year ago was my first board meeting I ever attended, was the S&T one. And I was sitting in the back and thinking, wow, that's a lot of info. And now I sit up at the table and think, wow, that's a lot of info still. But I have a little more context. But anyway, let's get the ball rolling here. So I'll start with what's going on with Inter-Campus Student Council. We are preparing to welcome some new members as they get elected so we can get a strong start on working together for the coming academic year. We will also be discussing soon what we found from our investigation of shared governance on campus. All right, next let's talk about the Associated Students of the University of Missouri. ASUM's legislative team is busy promoting their legislative agenda during the final stint of the session with several bills in both chambers. And in fact, S&T's own ASUM chapter visited Washington, D.C. over spring break to discuss core platform issues in higher education policy with some special interest groups, including the APLU and the Department of Education and federal lawmakers, and that's what they got here in the pictures. So next we'll talk about Mizzou's, Missouri Students Association. So their Senate passed two resolutions, one supporting the university's position on Title IX changes and another showing support to Mizzou athletics for fighting the NCAA sanctions. MSA is also working on placing Narcan nasal spray, the opioid antagonist, in all residence halls and fraternity sorority facilities and other university housing. So now for their Graduate Professional Council. GPC has hosted their 36th annual Research and Creative Activities Forum. This year was the first of their poster presentations. During April 3rd through the 5th, graduate and professional students had research posters on display in Jesse Hall for all people to see. And what the neat part is, this photo shows about, let's see, what was it? They had an informational poster right here of what GPC does, and about a quarter of the total posters are shown in the background. And they said that there were way too many to put in one photo, which I think is a pretty neat little positive note there. Additionally, after a fantastic giving day, GPC is now accepting applications to their new financial assistance fund for students in need of emergency monetary aid. Final numbers are not in yet, but it is estimated that GPC has brought in over $3,000 of their $5,000 goal for the year. Now for Kansas City, their library fee referendum passed 72 to 28%, allowing the Miller-Nichols Library to now offer longer hours and more resources to help students, and they've got their fee structure there on the screen. In the last month of office, SGA wants to offer students a new tradition called UMKC Week. Building off the work of the last executive team, they want to help UMKC students come together and invoke a greater sense of UMKC pride. The week is planned to be filled with fun, food, and community. And while the week is about their pride, they do want to care for the Roos who are less fortunate by partnering with their Roo Pantry to host a food drive. Now for Student Council, we are looking forward to meeting a new chancellor and opening the fitness center as the year ends, which you can see here in the photos. It's getting really close. I'm excited for that too. And additionally, Stuco is giving out prizes to students who are filling out their CET evaluations, so their evaluations of teaching. The Council of Graduate Students is working with Global Learning to develop a virtual career fair for Missouri S&T graduate students. And they are also going to continue to work with International Affairs as well as Global Learning to improve international student outreach and recruitment. Whoop, too far. All right, for UMSL's SGA, UMSL had their first ever meeting of the Student Council of Diversity and Inclusion with students present from PRISM, the Black Business Students Association, the Student Veterans Association, the Able Disabled Partnership, and several other student associations. They talked about common issues among the organizations and possible events they can work on focused on intersectionality. SGA is also working on the STL Student Government Roundtable, and they met to finalize their group's constitution, which is their picture there. And then, personally, as the student rep, I will be brainstorming on the Coalition for Missouri Student Leaders and evaluating the Intercampus Student Council Constitution during some downtime that I think I'll have at my internship. That's what I got.
Avery, thank you very much. And you most recently just got your first paper published, is that correct?
That's right, you can cite me as Welker et al. 2019, in case you're writing a paper on structural geology.
So there you go. I have an action item. I need a motion and a second to approve the 2020 Board of Curators meeting calendar.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions, voice carries. Next item is the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda that was sent out earlier?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? We will move on now to Finance Committee Chair Bernsick and the Finance Chair report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. The Finance Committee had one information item and approved 4 action items during the April 4th, 2019 Finance Committee meeting. Vice President Ryan Rapp and Charles Kim, representative from Kaufman Hall, reviewed the fiscal year 2020 5-year plan and operating budget for the University of Missouri. The important work being done as part of this process will establish enterprise financial performance metrics, targets, and accountabilities for leadership. The strategic financial plans under develop provide the bridge from the strategic plans to the annual operating budget. This framework ensures trade-offs are understood and strategic priorities are balanced against financial capacity and sustainability. The plans included in your materials represent the baseline cases. The baseline cases demonstrate much work is being done to maintain an acceptable level of financial performance. The baseline shows an annual operating gap that is projected to widen to $110 million by fiscal year 2023. Work is underway to prioritize the operating and strategic initiatives that will provide new revenue and expense efficiencies to close this gap. The strategic financial plans and operating budget will be presented for approval at the June board meeting. Vice President Rapp presented the recommendations for fiscal year 2020 capital plan for MU Healthcare, Missouri S&T, UMKC, and UMSL, as outlined in the meeting materials that were provided in the April Board of Curators meeting mailing. The projects approved for further planning and development for each of the campuses in healthcare directly support the campus and healthcare capital and strategic plans. The Finance Committee unanimously approved the projects as outlined in the April Board of Curators mailing materials for further planning and development. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to recommend to the full board the approval of capital plans for MU, UMKC, Missouri S&T, UMSL, and MU Healthcare as listed in the materials.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? It passes.
Next item, Vice President Rapp and Dean Sarah Thompson reviewed the project approval of the replacement building for the MU Sinclair School of Nursing. Dean Thompson explained how the new building will help recruit and retain students to bridge gaps in the imminent nursing shortage. Classrooms will be larger, more interactive, and will provide more space for simulation and research. The project will demolish the existing facility and construct a smaller 3-story building over the existing basement to allow for overall square footage to be more efficient. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to recommend to the full board project approval for the MU School of Nursing and Replacement Building with a projected budget of $30 million to be provided by Sinclair School of Nursing reserve funds, private gifts, and proceeds from land sales at Sinclair Farm and MU Healthcare contributions.
Do I have a second? No, you're fine. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Next item, discussed in the Finance Committee, Vice President Rapp provided a brief history of Oak Place Apartments and the need for repairs. The repairs needed are not a typical university construction project, so board approval is needed to hire an architect and engineering team to scope out the costs for repairs. Insurance proceeds are expected to cover a majority of the costs. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to recommend to the full board hire of International Architects Atelier, Inc. for the UMKC Oak Place Apartments repair project.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you. The final item covered in the Finance Committee in April was Vice President Rapp presented the revised fiscal year 2020 MU student housing and dining rates. You'll recall the board approved a schedule of rates at the November 2018 meeting. However, due to indications, there will be a higher than expected fall enrollment, as well as returning students wishing to retain campus housing. MU is requesting to enter into up to 3 potential lease space choices that could offer 4 student pricing options. The rate proposals are outlined in the April Board of Curators meeting materials. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to recommend to the full board the schedule of rates as presented in the April 2020 Board of Curators materials for the MU residence halls and family student housing be approved effective beginning with the 2019 summer session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, this concludes my finance report for the board.
Thank you very much, Chair Burnsick. We'll now move on to the Compensation and Human Resource Committee. Chair Snowden, I believe, on my left. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's one information item and one action item for the committee. There's one action item and one information item by the Committee for Compensation and HR. The informational item is really a written report, which I think all of us were furnished. The action item deals with the change in the retirement plan, disability and retirement plan, death benefits plan for employees hired at the university after October 1, 2019. And Marcia Fisher is here to kind of go over the highlights of that. We've actually discussed this at 2 previous board meetings, and it's been reviewed by all of the various stakeholders, and I'm having trouble talking because I'm about to choke. And anyway, Marcia, if you would kind of go through that.
Sure will. All right. Just wait just a second to get the slides. Here we go. Oops, back one. So just to recap where we are on this, if you recall back in December of 2017, the board approved changing the return assumption from 7.75 to 7.2. A year ago, when I provided the annual report on benefits, we talked about developing and implementing a proposed new plan for new employees. And reporting today, we're right on schedule with our final vote to do that. In November, we had an informational session where we went through this. In February, there was preliminary approval and authorizing us to file this with the Joint Committee on Retirement Plans. And today, we're asking for the final approval for the plan. You'll advance for me. And just as a reminder, we're moving for employees that are hired October 1, or if they're returning and being rehired to the university October 1, 2019, they will be in a defined contribution plan that will be 100% match up to 8% by the university with a 3-year vesting plan. And again, it's both for newly hired employees and for employees who are rehired after October 1, 2019. So for the rehired employees, that means that their previous defined contribution portion would be frozen and they would now be into the new defined contribution plan. Again, the 8% automatic enrollment of 8% for employees, which they can change at any time, but we find that employees typically don't, so we're helping our folks get retirement ready. There is language in the formal plan documents that allows the board at a later date to be able to make changes to the amounts or design, which is typical in defined contribution plans. The vesting is a typical defined contribution vesting period, a 3-year cliff. You'll notice that employees that were previously vested will come into the new plan vested, and employees who within 5 years can bring that service into contribute towards their vesting. If you've been gone from the university more than 5 years, when you enter, you will start your vesting period. I wanted to highlight part of when we're revising these plan documents, we looked for opportunities to make administrative efficiencies and improvements to our process, and I highlight 4 of those for you. The forfeiture language, our processes and plans continue the same, but it was really just improving the language. If someone doesn't vest, it goes into a forfeiture account that then can be later used to fund future contributions. And again, this was just a language cleanup. The loan provision was added that it's a limit of 1 active loan per participant unless it's for a housing type loan. That mirrors our 401A current plan, and there's 2 points to this. It is administrative efficiency. It's very time consuming if an employee has multiple loans, and it's also, again, we want to set policy that helps our employees be retirement ready, and we believe this does so. The third that I'll highlight for you is just a compliance issue that when someone takes a hardship withdrawal, previously they were not able to then continue to contribute. The regulations tell us now that they are able to continue to contribute, so we changed that language. And finally, I want to highlight for you a change. Previously, in our defined benefit plan, when someone died, they were able to have a prorated basis for the month in which they were deceased. This turned out to be really quite a time-consuming and difficult thing to administer. You have to pull back that payment, and you have to reissue it for that prorated amount. It also is pretty upsetting to people, and you lose goodwill with your former employee family members. So as an administrative efficiency, that will be time-saving for the university and also will be a good thing for our employees, that the language will change, that they'll be paid for the full month in which they were deceased. And then finally, I just wanted to take a minute, and I think she's here. Jessica Baker, will you wave your hand? I wanted to highlight that Jessica's on my team and has done just a wonderful job the past year in leading this effort and working through all the details. And I highlight it for 2 reasons. One, just my sincere appreciation to all of your hard work and how glad I am that you're on my team. And that 2, I thought you might be interested to know that this is a wonderful example when people are willing to work hard, do good work, and grow professionally, that the university is a great place for them. That Jessica came in at more of a modest position and has really grown her way into this important leadership position, and I expect to see her to shine in the future as well. So with that, any questions? Yes?
I just have one question, and I probably missed it. This is only for new hires
Absolutely.
that will come on board in October?
New hires as of October 1, 2019, or if someone left the university
Okay.
and came back after October 1st, 2019.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Questions?
But continue pushing it? We need to get you one of those new and improved versions. We have a number of people that either take early out or retire and we hire back. So does that constitute a break in service so that they don't continue in a defined benefit program, but that they then convert to the 401A plan, and then do they have the waiting period?
So I don't know that we have people who typically come back in a full-time benefit eligible position all that typically, but if someone did have a full break in service and then return to the university after this October 1 date, they would be returning to the university in the new defined contribution plan.
I think historically it has not been all that infrequent for professors or administrators to come back immediately after. And so I think it is an important question, and whether that constitutes a break in service. I just leave that hanging in the air for.
Yes, and if they separate employment, then leave of absences are different, but if they separate employment, they would be coming back into the new plan.
Any other questions?
Other questions? I need a motion and a second to move for the adoption of this change to the retirement plan for employees hired after October of this year. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Now, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that the compensation plan for employees after October 9th of 2019 be changed in accordance with the information presented.
Do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Chairman, that concludes the work of the Compensation and HR Committee.
Thank you very much, Curator Snowden, and we are going to move ahead to further action before lunch. As I turn my page, Chair Farmer, are you ready for the External Affairs, Marketing, and Advancement report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm getting new notes now. Okay. I just had figured out what these said. Now new ones. Okay, so the External Affairs and Marketing Advancement Committee had a meeting on April 3rd in conjunction with today's board meeting, and the committee has 2 information items. Information item number 1. President Choi presented the latest figures showing that giving is up across all 4 universities, as you've heard about during Dr. Choi's report. In March, from the year, Mizzou was up 18.7%, UMKC was up 22.5%, UMSL was up 15.9%, and Missouri S&T was up 8.1%. The progress in part was spurred by a number of multi-million-dollar gifts, including major investments by KC Scholars, for KC Scholars for scholarships, and for hundreds of Kansas City students to attend both UMKC and Mizzou. Many of these gifts to all 4 universities qualified for matching funds through the UM System's Promise and Opportunity Program. The recent Mizzou Giving Day also raised $13.5 million in a course of 24 hours, including an anonymous $5 million pledge to support the new TPMC building that will be going up at the University of Missouri in Columbia. You all have seen Dr. Choi's presentation, and it's in this packet with more information about advancement progress, endowment performance across all 4 universities, and other notable gifts we've received. Our second information item was presented by Communications Officer Cameron Farwell, and it was a marketing update on the TPMC progress. She presented methods for driving awareness and buy-in from citizens and partners throughout the state and beyond to support our statewide initiative. She is also working on renaming the TPMC to something that we can all understand and relate to, and hopefully at the next meeting she'll give us an update on where we are in the naming progress. A copy of Cameron's presentation is in this packet as well. Dr. Choi and Cameron are available for any questions that you all may have on both the endowments, the advancement efforts, and the TPMC efforts across all 4 campuses. Mr. Chairman, this concludes our informational items for the External Affairs, Marketing, and Advancement Committee.
Thank you very much, Chair Farmer. Great information and great news going forward. We'll move now to Academic Student Affairs and Research and Economic Development Chair Report. I think we're going to have Curator Snowden fill in for Chair Chapman.
Yeah, I'm filling in, Mr. Chairman. And let me just say that Academic Student Affairs and Research and Economic Development Committee has 4 action items, and I'd like to have Dr. Steve Graham come to the podium and explain the first action item.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go through the 3 degrees fairly quickly because they were reviewed by the committee and approved unanimously. The first was a Bachelor of Science degree in cybersecurity from St. Louis. Very progressive degree. You can get concentrations in either information technology through the School of Business or in computer science through the Computer Science Department. UMSL has, for the last 4 or 5 years, had a cybersecurity strategic initiative. They have a National Center for Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity that's been recognized by the NSA, so they're really taking advantage of the additional hires they've made to ramp up on that. And so now they have a joint degree program that students can go either through an information science track or through computer science. Highly sought after degrees. It's important to the national security as well as business community. And as I mentioned, this program was approved unanimously by the committee. So I guess then back to Curator Snowden for a full committee vote.
Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Is it, when you were looking at it, is that obviously that's something very important, and will it attract a lot of students? I mean, it seems like it'd be a degree that's everybody's talking about.
We're projecting somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 student majors at year 5.
Wow.
The uniqueness of this also is that it cuts across 2 colleges. So we have the College of Business Administration, we have the College of Arts and Sciences, and so you can move in a direction that's perhaps more technical and perhaps more social oriented. So it's very unique in that respect.
I have a comment, and that is that I think that this is actually important for all 4 campuses. I know that we had some discussion this morning that S&T has a cybersecurity function that's pretty important. I know that UMKC does as well. They were responsible for bringing iVerify forward. I'm assuming that MU does, and that this is an excellent opportunity for collaboration. It lends itself toward e-learning, and so happy that St. Louis is going to have those degrees, but having intercampus, inter-university collaboration, this is a really great opportunity.
Exactly.
It really is. And may I ask Chancellor Maples and Chancellor Cartwright to talk about the collaboration with NGA on cybersecurity?
Yes, so as you said, Curator Phillips, we do have cybersecurity and data analytics also, just like the other campuses. And what we're doing is actually working with UMSL, with S&T and MU, and working with the NGA and thinking about how do we support what is needed by all of the industries and in fact, NGA itself, for the future in cybersecurity. And so that is a collaborative effort where we will be thinking about how do you offer the courses that are needed, how do you conduct the research that's needed. And I agree with you 100%. This is an opportunity where we can be doing something special if we think about how we leverage all of the resources across all of the campuses. thank you for pointing that out.
I might also point out that 2 of our officers have top security clearance nationally. I believe that Chancellor Cartwright obtained his before he came to MU. Am I correct about that?
I do have it, but I just got it around the same time that the president did, I think.
Oh, I was going to acknowledge you as having gotten it under the prior administration, and that President Choi got his under the Trump administration and was not blocked.
I received it, yes, I did.
Any other discussion? If not, the committee, I would move that the University of Missouri St. Louis new degree proposal for Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity be approved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item.
Okay, excellent. And in a very, I think, smart and collaborative way, and as Chancellor George talked about, the 2 colleges, both business and arts and science, collaborating on this makes it really valuable. So they're proposing a master's degree in cybersecurity. All the same thing applies in terms of the need for it, the ability to ramp up quickly, the needs in St. Louis. And this is a program where they're looking to eventually create a 2+3 option where a student could actually go through the program and pick up a master's degree in 5 years and shave off a year of time. Once again, very clever use of faculty, projected enrollment of 90 students in the master's program. Students can switch emphasis areas too, so it's very flexible. So let's say you went through in the computer science end and then decided to go to information science at the master's level or vice versa. Once again, very appropriate for the community in St. Louis, and it received unanimous approval by the committee as well.
Questions of Dr. Graham? Any discussion? If not, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the committee, I would move that the University of Missouri St. Louis degree for the Masters of Science in Cybersecurity be approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item.
Graham.
Wouldn't you know, the one time I walk up here without water. The 3rd degree program is a Bachelor of Science in Human Environmental Sciences, and this is offered through the College of Human Environmental Sciences. Basically, this is a degree that focuses on retention. They have several programs that are fairly competitive to be admitted to, and so they find a lot of students into their 2nd, 3rd year are not going to be admitted, and so they lose as many as 30 students a year to Mizzou that don't get in and head off somewhere else. So they put together kind of a general program that covers human environmental sciences that they hope will attract a few new students, but mainly as a retention type program. No new courses or faculty required in this. It's just more of a way to catch that student so that she doesn't have to transfer to some other program, let's say psychology, history, or some other arts and science program, and then extend her stay at the university for an extra year. So it's a smart way to use existing resources and catch better retention, both first year as well as retention to graduation. Once again, this program received unanimous approval from the committee as well.
Any questions of Dr. Graham? Any discussion? If not, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the committee, I'd move that the University of Missouri Columbia new degree proposal for Bachelor of Science in Human Environmental Sciences be approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Dr. Graham, you're still up.
Okay, here we go. There we go. Next slide. As you recall, this past summer, there's a lot of focus on the active and important role of department chairs, and the focus that not only department chairs needed to be strong and selected wisely, but they needed to have authority to act. So President Choi worked with the UM system leaders and with faculty throughout the year to come up with a revised policy spelling out the duties and roles and responsibilities of the department chairs. I should say that we had a lot of interest in this policy as it was being developed, and so we worked with IFC. with the provost and the general officers, which consists of the vice presidents and chancellors. This revised rule provides a much clearer guidance for department chairs and deans. It strengthens their role, it clarifies what they're supposed to do, and it focuses on the preparation for them too. So as a footnote, it abolishes the collected rule 300.030, which is sort of in conflict with this and spells out how department chairs are selected here at S&T. And as I mentioned earlier, this really addresses some of the issues that came up during the summer retreat, but are well known throughout the department chair's role, and we've talked about that through the last couple of years. Next slide. I'm just going to highlight a few of the key differences and unique aspects of this rule. Once again, I think it was very well vetted, and so we started out with something, and throughout the course of lots of conversations with faculty administrators, came up with something that we think is good. Focuses on the important role of chair. It specifically spells out the duties of the chair to talk about retaining and developing, supervising, evaluating, the role of the chair in working in the university's strategic goals and for the organization, not just for the department. There's a critical section in there that talks about the ongoing professional development for department chairs, which everyone agreed is key, and we'll focus on that in just a sec. And I think, true to some conversation, it focused on changing the search process so that it becomes a more inclusive process in terms of selecting a chair, consultation with the dean and the faculty, but including...
I'm sorry, I can't find my copy. What is the selection process now that we're voting on? And how does that correspond to some of the conflicts that went around with individual campuses?
I think in the past it's varied greatly, where sometimes it was a department faculty who selected the chair and came to the dean with a recommendation which may or may not have been accepted. I think there's some cases you had department faculty only who were selecting the chair. This suggests that we should have other constituent groups such as students, other faculty of different types, not just full professors or something. And so this gives an opportunity, and then the opportunity or encouragement for a national search when that's appropriate. So it's really kind of a stronger vetting process in selecting a chair in consultation with the dean, where the dean is fully in charge and the department chair serves at the will of the dean.
Yeah, and Marcia just handed this to me, so my question, I think, is to the chancellors and to the president, however they want to answer it. So are we now going to hold the deans responsible, fully responsible for both their selections and the competency and accomplishments of their chairs?
Yes. Yes. And the provost will be accountable for the deans, and the chancellors will be accountable for provost. So there is a greater degree of accountability that's built in. And the process that we've actually implemented as part of the CRR follows the national best practice. And we've had processes that varied campus by campus, college by college, but now we've standardized it.
I want to commend you, Dr. Graham, because this, I was afraid, was going to be fairly controversial, and I don't know what all went on underneath the water, but this is a much needed change. And actually, when I've talked to other places around the country, all the really outstanding institutions do it this way, and we were not in line with the outstanding institutions. So
thank you.
Congratulations to everybody who took part in that.
Is this information generally known throughout the university family now?
Oh yeah, it's been vetted
So
for more.
the chancellors and the provosts worked with their faculty executive committees and the faculty councils. So we received feedback from all 4 universities, and it took a little bit longer than we expected, but we want to have that input. And in the end, we came to a solution that meets the needs of having department chairs that are selected using the national best practice and holding department chairs accountable to improve the performance in the department.
Yeah, that's good.
So it intuitively seems like the right thing to do, and certainly being with the other major universities makes sense. I am wondering about how it was socialized and the shared governance aspect of it. You worked through the administrators, but with respect to deans or department chairs or those aspiring, how did you work through it? And was the interfaculty council or the councils on the campuses, did they, for lack of a better word, acquiesce in this? Or is there still resentment? Are we going to lose some people because they thought they were going to be the next chair and now they're not going to be?
I'll take swings at that, and then the president may want to backfill on that. But I think this probably was vetted as widely as anything that we've done, comparable to what we did with post-tenure review and the standards of faculty conduct. So it went out to the, I worked directly with IFC. They took it back to their campus. We got pages of comments and feedback. I would have to say some credit to the president too, because his first initial draft of it has been changed and modified based on the feedback. I think we feel that this really is very nice and strong. It took a lot of conversations and some finesse, to be real honest with you. I'm chuckling when Commissioner Steelman called me out on that, but yes, I work behind the scenes a lot to get this smoothed out too. I think that now Faculty Council, IFC is very comfortable with it. I think we've struck a really nice medium ground, and I think it's something the President and the Board will be proud of, but I think it's very well socialized, which is partly why we didn't see this in February and why we're seeing it in April, because we got some pushback, to be very honest with you. And I think that we vetted it rather widely, and then at the end, Dr. Manrique, the chair of IFC, and I sat down with all the comments and made some changes, of which we brought to the president and to Steve Owens, and here's what we have in front of you.
That's very comforting. Thank you.
Any other questions? I think you can tell by the discussion this was not a quick or easy process to go through, but it looks like we've come to a good result. So, Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the committee, I would like to move the amendment CRR 20.110 and up to 300.030 be approved as outlined in the materials set forth in this meeting.
Second. Do I have a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nays, abstention? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the report by the Committee on Academic Student Affairs and Research and Economic Development.
Curator Snowden, thank you for stepping in and doing that for us. There's no formal audit. There was no formal audit committee. They met last quarter and will meet next quarter. Chair Graham, I don't know if you are ready before lunch or you can make, it's your call.
I am ready.
Okay, then we will have Health Affairs Chair report.
And I am going to use a few slides here. So, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I am pleased to report on the activities of the Health Affairs Committee. And our last meeting was on April 1st in Columbia. And I do want to point out that every committee member was personally present for our meeting, as is typical with our committee. Just as a reminder to the board and to those in attendance, the Health Affairs Committee was only created in the year 2016, so we've been a committee for 3 years, and we're the only committee of the board to have an outside member on our committee. Our current non-curator is Ron Ashworth, and he is the former CEO and board member of Mercy Health in St. Louis, and his responsibilities when he was CEO involved the supervision and overseeing 8 hospitals. Having Ron on our committee has proved invaluable. Going to have to move the clicker and the audio man button here together, so we'll manage to get this done.
Want me to do your button for you?
See how we do here. Anyway, to open the meeting, we first welcome the presence of our newly appointed medical school dean, Dr. Steve Zweig, who is universally respected and admired by medical school faculty, and that's going to become very important, but universally admired by the faculty as well as MU Health leadership. The university is no doubt going to benefit from Dr. Zweig's willingness to take on these important responsibilities at a very critical time. Just a little background. Upon graduation from Kirkwood High School, Dr. Zweig received a scholarship to attend Harvard. And after finishing at Harvard, he returned, however, to Missouri to get his medical education. He also did a residency at MU Health, or the hospital. He did a fellowship and also obtained a master's in public health. And Dr. Zweig has been a Tiger since 1984. And this is going to be a good move for the university to have him as the interim medical school dean. In connection with the introduction of Dr. Zweig, the committee also reminded, let me get this back here. Yeah, we were also reminded of the, thank you. We were also reminded of the mission of the medical school, and Dr. Zweig addressed this during his remarks later on. But the mission of our MU School of Medicine is to improve the health of all people, especially Missourians, through exemplary education, research, emphasize research, and patient-centered care. And the mission is going to be met with building on our strengths. We have an outstanding faculty and expect to continue to work on that, and staff and students. We also have, of course, the vital partnership within MU Healthcare. And we're going to see more and more collaboration with campus colleagues and others. Okay. Yeah, okay, you can go to the next one. Okay, we addressed several things, and one of the things that was talked about, and I want to return to this slide, but one of the areas that is addressed is improvement and working on certain areas of the MU healthcare. And there are 12 clinical priority areas that are going to be addressed, and these are called the Big 12. Now, the only reason the one is circled down there, the issue of post-operative respiratory failure, is because Dr. Steve Witt was making this presentation, and he circled the area that he personally is responsible for. However, he is directing the activity of MU Healthcare to address all of these 12 areas, which has been determined to be key areas within the hospital care that need to be addressed. Also, the committee talked about and heard about the need for transformation. This has to do with the assignment that Dr. Choi has given MU Healthcare, and the healthcare team is currently focused on 3 specific areas: quality of service, sustainable financial performance, and establishing a strategic framework for the future while remaining focused on current operational execution. Those areas for MU Healthcare's mission will include, slide 4, will include a cooperative effort led by Dr. Witt on these 12 areas I mentioned. And also the MU Healthcare leadership has worked extensively over the last several months to develop a program whereby we will save eventually $25 million per year, and we've identified targeted areas in which this $25 million in savings for MU Health will be achieved. It's going to take us approximately 3 to 5 years to achieve this $25 million in savings, but that it's already underway. And also, we were reminded that good things are going on at the medical school. I think everybody knows what match day is, but we had a good year with the medical school this year. We had a 98% residency match rate, which means that our graduates, 98% of them are getting the residence they want. 22% of the class will stay at MU for residency training, 38% are going to remain in Missouri to practice, and 35% of our graduates are selecting high needs care fields. Following Jonathan Curtwright's CEO's report, we moved into the financial report, and we talked about the financial results, and Mr. Blair, our CFO, reported on the financial report. As you see to the left of the screen, the total operating revenue last year was $701.2 million, which was 3.9% higher than anticipated, 5.5% higher than the previous year, and the operating income of $54.2 million was $2.7 million favorable to the plan or budget, with an operating margin of 7.7%. Among academic health institutions, these are good results. MU Health, of course, is dealing with many of the same challenges that healthcare systems, particularly academic health systems, are dealing with across the nation. In moving forward, it's going to be important to make clear that even though we're talking about reduction of cost, we're not talking at all about reduction in staff. It's going to be done through management and a savings plan, which will result in economic benefits, but no reduction in staff.
That's the last slide, I think. I think it's the last slide. Yeah.
Trying to shorten this down based on the time we have. At the end of the committee meeting, Dr. Zweig did take some time to talk about his plans for the medical school, and I do want to share that because that certainly has impact as we continue to build on the relationship between our medical school and MU Healthcare. But he made an important comment that he wants to build on our strengths, and we do have plenty of strengths at the medical school, but he also wants to move from interdependence of the medical school and MU Healthcare to a more transcendent relationship between MU Healthcare and the School of Medicine. He also talked about his desire to enhance the medical school's partnership with other schools, other colleges, departments within the university, and he mentioned specifically data analytics, veterinary medicine, engineering, and some of the other departments of the university. He also wants to reinforce MU values and culture of respect, responsibility, and discovery, and excellence within the medical school. After Dr. Zweig finished his comments, we turned to Jerry Doty of MU Healthcare, and Dr. Choi has asked Jerry to supervise and manage the strategic efforts of MU Healthcare. And she talked about the 3 phases that are already underway to address strategic planning for MU Healthcare. Phase 1 is a situational assessment. That's going to run from April to June. We're in that right now of this year. Next, after the assessment's completed, they'll do strategy formulation. That's going to run from July to September. And then from October through December, the action plan development will be in place. So we're going to have a coordinated strategic planning fully in place and implemented by the end of the year. And Jerry Doty is overseeing this year-long process. And to summarize, the committee then heard from Dr. Choi, and I know he's going to address this later, who shared the goals he set for the leadership team. And those goals include to establish an overarching strategic framework for MU Health that brings together clinical scale, scope, centers of excellence, physician recruitment, geographic distribution, capital plans, and service delivery in close alignment with university research centers of excellence, faculty recruitment, investments in facilities, teaching excellence, and a reputation for eminence. I figured the board had a question about this, and regarding SSM, the due diligence and discussions continue, and we'll continue to look into mutually beneficial options, and they continue to be considered. It was a good meeting. We're proud of MU Healthcare, and I think the board will be proud of MU Healthcare when they see that all of the activity that's going on there is pretty impressive.
Any questions or thoughts or ideas? I mean, I just have the one that, so sometimes the public gets it off when we're saving 25 million, that's the target. And Chair Graham made sure there's no reduction in workforce, and it does not impact patient care, which is a huge part of, sometimes people read what the university, the hospital is trying to save and cut and do things, but it's all internal. It doesn't have anything to do with patient care, so that's one of the key things.
In fact, the Big 12, which identified those areas of practice, those are areas that are going to be specifically addressed to not only address safety, but enhanced patient care, the patient experience within the hospital. So that's going to be a major project going forward.
So we have one action item from the Health Affairs for the minutes approval of the January 29th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, we approved those during the committee meeting.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah, we don't have an action.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we will adjourn for lunch, but we probably have some time. Curators.
Yes, we're going to start at 1:15.
I don't know if lunch is ready.
They're not going to be ready until 12:10. We have visitors. I think we've got it all. Yeah, we've got it all. Yeah. We're not going to have dinner.
I have a question. So we've got a little time even before lunch.
Yes, we do.
Right. So I actually thought we were going to have I thought this was the meeting where there would be a lengthy discussion about the new way in which we approve capital expenditures. That was discussed in committee. My take on it was that those programs that we approved last year aren't getting funded. So we're moving them into this year. But when we started this new way of dealing with it and empowering the Finance Committee, it was a major change. It is how in the future the university will determine capital expenditures, legislative requests and so forth. And we were going to do it not only by year, but taking a 5-year look at it. Is that not what this meeting was going to be? Or is that the next meeting? I probably won't be here at your next meeting, but there ought to be an annual discussion of the other priorities. And our book was full of, I think, priorities 1 through 6. So I'd done a lot of work on that, thinking there would be discussion of what's important, and the chancellors would be speaking their views on their campus priorities so that the board would know what's moving up in the future. Am I in the wrong meeting? Is it next time? Or is this the meeting where that might have occurred?
So we had that conversation at a finance committee meeting that we held. Was it last week, Ryan?
Yeah. I understand the finance committee dealt with it, but no board discussion of it. We just approved.
So what I would like to recommend is with the board's consent, we can bring that back to the full board discussion in June.
I would encourage that. I won't be here, but I think that's a good public discussion rather than just adopting what a committee did. And I would note that all board members are invited to join in any committee.
That's right.
And I'm not complaining about, I mean, I think it was easy for us to do this year, but it's not, hopefully we'll get some of this funded someday, and then it will be important because some of the priorities may even change by campus request.
Yes, that's right. Ryan?
So I thought I'd use the time to raise the issue.
Yes.
So I would offer that we did discuss at the Finance Committee meeting the 5-year capital plans and in working with Curator Burnseg. We have changed the process, but even if you look at these plans, it's hard to tell what projects are aspirational versus what projects we actually know we can commit to in our financial plan. So as every year we bring forward a 5-year plan, when we bring it forward next fall, we're going to be able to say, if we've got 25 projects, here are the 5 that are committed into our 5-year financial plan, and then here are the 20 that we may need to fundraise for or go advocate with others for the funding. So we did discuss making some changes to that at the meeting.
I understand that, but I do think it's a greater public interest than just having it in a finance committee, determined by the finance committee and rubber stamped at the board. So as I leave, that's a recommendation that I make, is that we be transparent about prioritization.
Sure. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. So why don't we bring up this item as an item of discussion?
Yeah, and just to add on to that, we did not discuss the prioritization, just simply that there needed to be a discussion of the prioritization because we can't afford all of them. So to your point, and it's a good one, we should bring that forward, and I think that's the plan for June.
Anything else? If not, we'll have lunch. I'm sure it's not ready yet, though. But
Yeah. They just said it'll be ready in about 5 minutes.
okay, thank you.
If we can start early, we'll start early. Yeah. Okay, great. Meeting is adjourned.
Oh, yeah, we're adjourned until after lunch.